you've been badly misinformed. He says, I know a man that lives in an apartment right across the street, and he's afraid to come outside. He owes everybody. 6 o'clock in the morning, somebody taps on the door, and he's afraid to answer. But a card comes under the door. He owns a second-hand car, and the automobile man wants to know when he's going to get the next installment. A few minutes more to the tap on the door. He owes somebody else for a radio set that he's bought on the installment plan. And this keeps on until about 9 o'clock. There's a loud bang on the door. And he's afraid somebody's going to knock the door down. So he says, who is it? And the voice comes back, it's the Lord. And the man says, what Lord? The landlord. Steamboat Bill says, that's the only Lord that most of you jokers are ever going to see. So, just about this time, the meeting got livened up. A drunk came by. Here was a brother that had not one drink too many, he'd had a lot of drinks too many. And he's staggering around. He stops in front of Steamboat Bill's meeting, and he shook his fist at him. Oh, nigga, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Steamboat Bill says, listen, young man, if you want to stand here and listen to my discourse, you're welcome. But I do not permit you to disrupt my meeting. So the young man shook his fist again. Oh, nigga, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. Steamboat says, listen, young man, according to the Bible, Jesus Christ says that you slap me on one cheek, I'm supposed to let you slap me on the other. Well, I want you to know one thing. I ain't Jesus Christ. If you slap me on one side of my face, I'm coming down and bust hell out of you. So, unfortunately, Steamboat Bill died a year later. If it hadn't been for that, I was going to join his church. Because here was a man that not only had a church, but a depression was on, and he opened up a free lunch kitchen in his church, and the unemployed people could come around there and get free sandwiches, free coffee, free cake and all like that, and he went around and raised the money to finance this program. And he told the people, he says, it doesn't do me any good to save your soul if your body is hungry, so I've got to feed you first. Now, all of that leads up to this, that if we are going to save ourselves, we're not going to have a lily white God and a Jim Crow Jesus save us. We've got to do the job ourselves. And this idea of being submissive and meek and all like that is not going to get us anywhere. We can defend ourselves if we do it intelligently. You don't go out and attack a Sherman tank if all you had was a BB gun or slingshot. There's another way you have to do it. When I was at Grand Central Station at a Red Cap, I met a young man there who had been working on the job a number of years, and he had a special problem. He was sent down to the lower level of Grand Central Station, which is on 42nd Street in New York, and the vice president came in from the suburbs, and this red cap was detailed to carry his bags out to the street. And every time he went down there, the man insulted him. You know, stuff like, boy, pick up my bag, nigga, get a move on, or something like that. And the young man knew if he gave him an argument, being the vice president of the railroad, he'd lose his job. He couldn't afford to lose his job. But he was determined that he was going to punish this man. So one day he went down to get the suitcase of the vice president, and he was the only person on the train. There was the entire lower level of Grand Central Station, and the vice president and the red cap, and nobody else in the vicinity. So this young man hauled off and hit this man in the jaw and broke his jaw. Knocked him completely unconscious and laying on the platform bleeding. Somebody later on come and found him, called an ambulance, they put him on a stretcher and carried him, I have water here. And they put him on the stretcher, took him to the hospital. Then when he got his jaw back together, he came back and swore out a warrant to that this red cap committed assault and battery on him, broke his jaw, nearly killed him, and all the rest of it. So the red cap was hailed up before a judge. The vice president told him how this man beat hell out of him. And then the judge said to the red cap, "Did you commit assault and battery on this man?" He said, "No, I didn't. It must be a case of mistaken identity. I wasn't there." And then he said to the vice president, "Do you have any witnesses that saw this man beat you?" He said, "No." He says, "Case dismissed." This red cap broke his jaw, beat him nearly to death, and the judge threw out the case because there were no witnesses. So you don't have to be meek and submissive. You can get your point if you go about it in the intelligent way. And after that, the vice president was very nice to the red cap. He was afraid he might get his other jaw broken, so he kept his big mouth shut. I have a note here that we're going to have some discussion or questions or something like that. So I'll now stop, and the floor is open for. I think we'd better make it questions because discussions will take up too much time. So you ask me some questions, and I'll see can I give you the right answers. Okay.
Okay, first of all, let's give Professor Jackson a hand for being here.
No, I stand. It's all right.
Okay, those of you who have questions, I'd like you to come up if you're in the front, to come to the forward mic, or if you're in the back. Okay.
Dr. Jackson, regarding race, you indicated that earlier that the Greeks, here's the beginning of white civilization. I've been told that blacks have like curly hair and dark complected skin. I've seen some Greeks. I also go back to the Hebrews, the Jews, the original. I was told that the original Jews were also blacks and Hebrews coming from Ethiopia. If I'm correct, I'd like you to elaborate a little bit on that.
Oh yes, the original Jews were black people. These white Jews that you see were European Jews that lived in the southern part of Russia, and they were converted by Jewish missionaries. So the original Jews were black, and the ones that have set up the state of Israel, they're not Jews at all. And how they got away with this skullduggery, I don't know. I knew a wealthy Jew in New York who owned a furniture polish factory. His name Mark Jackson, born in Ireland, lived in London a number of years, and this company was called Jackson of London. And we were having dinner together one day. He says, "Brother Jackson," he says, "these Zionist Jews are giving me hell." I says, "Why?" He says, "Well, I think Zionism is a racket, and they know I've got money, and I wouldn't contribute a dime to it. So they've got me in the doghouse." And he told me, he says, the proof that Zionism is a racket is that 50 years ago, or a little over 50 years ago, the Zionists could have bought all the land they wanted down in Brazil for almost nothing per acre, and they could have set up that Jewish state down there and nobody would have bothered them. They went back to Palestine and set up that state in a land where the soil is so poor until you can't even grow weeds on it. And if it weren't for the rich Jews in America, Israel wouldn't even survive. And it's in very bad financial condition now. So that you have a situation like that. Now the original Jews were black, and the Jews boast that they produced the greatest philosopher in the world, Spinoza, who lived in Holland in the 17th century.